I must tell you that I'm a last minute addition. You must have got the flags. And Rajesh had a, what you call, crisis. He didn't have a speaker, and he happened to know him. And he told me to speak on a topic on HR, just imagine. And then I come here, and he says a lot of things about me. I can't resist tell you two small stories. 1 minute it will take, but I think I must tell you, because otherwise I'll be talking on a subject which is not my area of work. You'll be very surprised. So first of all, I found that he told me to talk about repositioning HR. Just imagine, only yesterday he told me. And it's an HR conference, and I've never worked in that area. And I was very shaky. I must tell you that I came for something else in Bombay. He said, you do it. But after all, my friend, young friend, he told me to talk about HR. Then suddenly I recall a story. About 500 years ago, somebody came from Middle East and went back to Middle East after 1 full year in India. He wrote a 500-page book. He wrote a 500-page book on India. Of course, about diversity, about everything. But one line in that book was very interesting, and it came very handy in the afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon outside. He says, India is a great country, and so also the Indians. You give them any topic, and they are the people who can talk for hours without doing nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Rajesh from Putney Trouble. I need confidence. I said, I'm Indian, and on top of that, when I am professor, you can't beat this. What a brilliant combination. The second thing is what Rajesh kept on talking about me. I'm not anything of that. But he kept on talking about who I am, what I did, what entrepreneur. You know, I'm a 59-year-old man with 140 days of experience in entrepreneurship. So you understand, I don't deserve all these things. But he kept on talking. I remember, and a short story before I start, some lady's husband passed away. And the body was brought to the place where the body was placed over there. Everybody was talking. The lady was with a black dress like me, I think. She was having a black dress. And everybody started talking. He was such a gentleman. Somebody says he was a literate person. Somebody says he's a noble person. Somebody says he's such a good-looking person. And the lady kept like this. Then the job is over. Now the body is to be lowered. Everything is over. Suddenly the lady said, hey, just stop it. Please open the coffin. Let me see the face, whether he's the same person as my husband. I can't believe Rajesh can do it to me. I'm not anybody of that. I'm a simple man. I'm a small-time teacher from IIM Calcutta who loves to experiment. I come to you, and Rajesh said, talking about repositioning HR. I'll try my best. I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's the best of times and the worst of times for Indian companies. You know all the reasons. Why is best of times and worst of times? Essentially, given all the things that happen, according to me, what we know something called Newtonian perception of reality, that is dead. According to Newtonian perception of reality, things happen logically one after another. Putting it simply, B follows A, C follows B, and that kind of a thing. What is now happening for the last 15, 20 years, what Michael Crichton said in Jurassic Park, the chaos theory, is the world has become chaotic. One just don't know what's going to happen. Things are not linear anymore. I mean, Z can follow M, R can follow P, anything can happen. And given this situation, where Newtonian perception of reality, the things have really changed. And according to the field of specialization where I come, we call, when 5 conditions come together, we call the context, the timing for strategy has come. I'm starting with strategy because I'm going to recommend to you that HR professionals, time has come to talk the language of business and strategy. I'll come to that a little later. I believe with the death of Newtonian perception of reality and the emergence of Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park's the chaos theory, the timing for strategists and the leaders have finally arrived. The business schools in India were set up in mid-60s. Even till early 90s, the business school talked about managing. But the situation has changed because the time for strategy has come thanks to all the changes that we know already. There are 5 things when they come together, it's time for the strategies to take over, not just hardcore managing and the managers. First, the customers are becoming very demanding and they've got infinite choices. Second, the competition is intense and they're coming from everywhere. Third, the resources are fleeting, for example, talented people. and they're also limited. The fourth, investors, including shareholders and bankers, are becoming highly impatient. They're not willing to wait for 50 years to get a return on investment. And finally, both huge opportunities and risks are existing simultaneously. And we say, accordingly, at least I must say, when these five things come together, it's time for the strategist. I call this the time for the strategy has come. What is happening today? We need to be now future ready. I would recommend to you, straight from my experience, what is meant by future ready? First and foremost, you can be a great manager. You can be an MBA from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, IIM, Calcutta, Ahmedabad, Bangalore. But if you're not good in these four things, the first requirement, probably you are not the person I'm going to do as a managing director of a company in a 5 years' time. All right. The future ready means you have to be strong in four areas: strategy, risk management, execution, leadership. If you're not, probably we're not talking to you in 5 years' time. I remember in one of the Bombay 5-star hotel once, about 4 months ago, I was talking about the same thing. Somebody said, Professor Das, you're from IIM system. You didn't talk about managing. I asked him that question. Did you take bath today? He was very upset. In a public hall, you asked, why didn't you include the word managing? I said, did you take bath today? He said, no, I was sick. I said, just answer, young boy. Did you take bath today? Well, is there a relationship between taking bath and the question I'm asking? I said, answer. Well, what is there to ask? It's so obvious. You don't go out of home without bath. That's my answer. You don't enter the world of business, or anything for that matter, if you're not a great manager. Managing is taken for granted. We don't talk about it anymore. But here managing will not take you through very far. We need four different things now: strategy, risk management, leadership, and execution. Second, we need innovations. I was hearing Sriram say innovation in three specific areas. And these things are happening day in and day out, minute to minute. A, the kind of customers you're going to choose. You want to start a business? The customers are already there. Selection of those customers are going to be very important. B, in what way you are going to be different from anybody else. Somebody already asked me that you are a professor of strategy, you spend all your time in strategy life, PhD in management in strategy. What is your definition of strategy? I can define a strategy in 1 second. Strategy is being different in the marketplace, period. Isn't it delightfully simple? Strategy is being different in the marketplace. As a matter of fact, nowadays I'm saying that in order to be a strategist, you don't need an MBA. You need something else. I'll come back to it later. In 21st century, the strategists are needed, but they are not needed, not necessarily need to have an MBA. I'm talking about it because I have the legitimacy. I came from Ahmedabad, teaching in Calcutta. In within 20 years, worked as general managers, managing directors. Many companies I've worked, I can tell you, you don't need it. Don't crave for it, but it's something else you need. I'm going to talk about it later. So first, the strategic innovation about choice of customer. Second, what is going to be your value proposition different from competition. And third, the most important one, where things are going to be different, how you deliver that value. And I'm going to make a statement on that, how do you deliver that value. People have talked about value chains, a lot of rubbish that goes on. I can tell you a simple thing. Increasingly we are finding the people who are going to make money in business or any other endeavor will not be people who are going to own assets and competencies. That they'll make some money. But the guys who will make lots of money are the people who are going to connect those assets and competencies owned by many individuals, organizations to the customer value proposition. In other words, when you manage and design the value proposition, the way you deliver, the real value lies not in assets and competencies, but the guys who are going to connect those assets and competencies owned by others to create the value customers truly want. Rajesh talked about the strategy academy which I lead. I'm trying to experiment. It's not an entrepreneurial job only. I'm trying to do a value proposition and a delivery model that does not have any fixed asset, any people, any address. In other words, you start dissecting the value chain and take out one by all assets, come to a situation where no assets, no people, no address exists. It's too early to say, I told you I'm only 180 days or 140 days entrepreneur. Come back to me after 1,000 days and come back to me after I've done 1,000 people. I've done till now 157. I'm still short by 843 people and I'm 140 days and 1,000 days difference. So many days after that you come and tell me, we'll build world's first holo corporation, not virtual. In virtual companies, there are back-end fixed asset people. I'm trying to understand and research, being a professor, Can you run a company as a hollow corporation without address, without people, without any fixed assets? In other words, I'm going to make a statement to you. Your ability to combine and recombine tangible and intangible assets. In a way, you can create infinite ways of value creation. That's going to be the hallmark tomorrow. And the HR people have to address that requirement. The other thing that's happening increasingly is that a simple proposition I'm going to talk to you, invest in what matters, manage what matters. If you carry on the logic I'm trying to say, and visualizing a situation, invest 0, manage 100. The hollow corporation that I'm proposing, I have to wait for 1,000 days. Only 140 days have gone. The hollow corporation I'm doing, I'm trying to say invest tending to 0. Manage thousands and thousands of activities, assets and competencies owned by other people. Ownership is no more an issue anymore. The real challenge is how do you combine assets owned by others but get the benefit yourself. That brings us to a question. We are also, because to manage in this new age where this kind of things are happening, you need new processes, new tools, new metrics, new capability. And that's the biggest challenge that HR people also have to answer that question. What I'm finding increasingly that, this is one of the other things I'm finding, increasingly that individuals are going to drive everything. Organization must now service individual. And one of my friends was unfortunately passed away, Professor Sumantra Ghoshal at London Business School. He wrote a book on individualized corporation. I would suggest that you read that book. That's a book where he says that companies will be their legal entities. Unless we run that company as a collection of individuals, it will not work. I'm going a step forward to find out that all the individuals of a company will be one-man army, and a company will become a confederation of individuals. The Strategy Academy is hollow corporation. Is a confederation of individuals, first 140 days. Rajesh is one of them, I'm one of them. Including I'm not a part of the Strategy Academy. I'm a professor at IIM Calcutta who is just running the show there. The question is, can you build an organization of 1,000 people where all the thousands are one-man army and they come together for a cause? And that's the right thing. This is something that we have to use to it. These whole systems, processes are having everybody under one legal entity, one employment contract probably have to be replaced by something else, but everybody is an individual. What does all this mean to the HR professional? That's the topic for today. And a few comments to make. The first and foremost, my understanding about the whole subject, I told you, talking to HR is almost like carrying coal to Newcastle or selling ice to Eskimos. I come here, Rajesh has given me a chance, I'm now sharing a few points of mine. I come from the strategic management. The first and foremost, one personal request to you, all HR professionals, please start talking the language of business and strategy. The HR professionals, unfortunately, of course, there are honorable exceptions. Honorable exceptions are there. But the general tendency is still always reactive and always silo and not talking about business. And they are not assertive many a time. The business people want, there are problems, you've got to address this problem. And the best way to solve a problem is to solve it. The best way to solve a problem is to solve it. Other day, I was remembering one of the managing directors of a company in Calcutta. Calcutta is always laid back, you understand. The managing director, they come and told me, Ranjan, can you get me a head of HR? I said, look, I'm not in a recruitment service. I'm a small-time teacher in IIM Calcutta. What do I do with HR recruitment? He kept on pushing, no, you meet many people in Bombay, Delhi. He's a big company, about 900 crores. It's not a small company. I said, tell me, what is that you want? HR head, MBA, IIM, all this. You know, very standard. He said, nothing. You do what you like about qualification and experience. I said, but you must tell me, you are the director HR or a president HR, you must tell me something about your qualification. I just assume, well, I've got only one requirement. My head of HR should have only one hand. I said, is that a position that you have created for a physically challenged person? I can't believe it. You are a managing director of a 900 crore company with an international collaboration, and you want director HR? I said, you got to be serious. You don't tell me these things to me for college. Get a person with one hand. Well, Ranjan, I just tell you one thing. I'm fed up with my last 3 HR heads. I said, what happened? He said, whenever there is a problem, there is just on one hand you can do this, on the other hand you can do this. I want to get that gap out. times the message is coming to you directly that talk the language of business and behave like a line manager. No decision is absolutely correct. I have a simple formula. If 7 out of 10 decisions go approximately correct, forget about even totally correct. If approximately correct, you are a great, great manager. People want you to be decisive. First is talk the language of business and strategy and be decisive. That's one small thing. Number 2, I think it's time has come for you. You talk about people process, I guess you are the best. But I think there are 2 other processes in an organization for executing strategy. The strategy process, the people process, and the operations process. Please, for heaven's sake, expand your horizon. Start talking about the 3 process and their alignment. You can't align your HR processes because you don't understand the strategy process and the operations process. Just for a moment, a classroom professor will become. The strategy process is a process, the output of which is a broad strategic direction. Basically, highways and super highways is the long-term direction. The operations process takes that broad direction, breaks into small milestones and lanes and by-lanes and roads for the next 3 years, including budget year. It looks at ground realities, function by function, people by people, and makes the operations process. The people process are those where you put people, recruitment, selection, training, development at that organizational unit level. And these 3 processes can operate at the branch manager level, it can operate at divisional level, it can operate at the director's level, at MD's level. HR people at all levels, particularly business HR, please spend time in understanding those 3 processes. Those of you who want a reference, a simple book is available. There's a very good book came in the market about 4 years ago called Discipline of Execution by Larry Bossidy and Ramcharan. Simple book, 280-page book or 300-page book. Read that book. There's a chapter on the 3 process. Read it. I can tell you, you are intelligent, you'll make it. So the first is talk the language of business and strategy. Be decisive. Don't say this can happen or this can happen. People want direct recommendations. Third, you must do what I call understand strategy process, people process, and operations process. Don't be somebody sitting outside and doing those clerical jobs. The fourth is you got to make sure at the end of the day, all the training program that you run, one small request as the ex-line manager. I don't care if one of my general manager or a branch manager lacks some skills here or there. He may not know discounted cash flow. He may not know MR technique. I don't mind. If the guy does not know, I get somebody recruited or trained. But I definitely mind if he does not have 7 specific qualities that you need to manage in the future. I'm going to tell that. The 7 qualities, if your training program, I don't know what program you're running, finance for non-finance, market research technique, these, that, you can do anything. 7 strategic behavior issues must be reflected at the end of the training program. And these are my biases, so please include the fact I'm a person from strategy. In the future, you need 7 things each individual, including in this room. A, you have to be impatient with the status quo. Otherwise, you are ambitious. That straight within the tube will be now sorted out. How do you connect these two? Ambition for the tomorrow and the straight and the impatience today. These have to be connected, and as you know in geometry, the shortest line is the best line. To connect it, in our language, we call that the road less traveled. And you can't find that. You can't find that strategy, that's a strategy, road less traveled, unless you are willing to ask why not question. All your training programs must ensure that people ultimately become impatient with the status quo. People ultimately become ambitious. People ultimately find the road less traveled by asking why not question. We still have 4 more points to go. I just want to tell you, if you don't take care of this 3 things, whatever be your training program, I don't think they'll produce the value the organization is looking at. Fourth, the guy must be able to think like a CEO, though he's not a CEO. The road less traveled, there's a book also by that, about 1978 publication by Dr. Peck Scott or Scott Peck. Just take this point, please. The 4th point is that we need millions of strategists at all levels. This morning I was a deputy managing director of State Bank of India. I was just telling him that you need 15,000 CEOs in State Bank. He said, Professor Das, we are beginning to feel that. You know what does it mean? A product head in Cochin is a CEO. Unless he's thinking like a CEO, he will never be able to think like a strategist like I'm talking about in the 21st century. So you have to be impatient with the status quo, you have to be ambitious, you should be able to ask the question, why not? The 4th is think like a CEO. Feel like an owner. Unless you are feeling like an owner, strategy will not come out. You can go to Harvard, you can go to MIT, you can be a great investment banker, you can become a general manager here and there, but a strategy is required. You must also not only think like a CEO, that's the intellectual part, the emotional part, feel like an owner. Sixth, you have to have a discipline of execution. If you don't have the discipline, you can't get things done. And finally, the guy must be able to say, at the end of your training program or development program, loudly, but nobody can hear, I and I alone can do it. Nobody else can do it. I have the power inside me to turn the universe. That's why I'm so important. When you combine these 7, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you may not have certain skills. You may not have A, B, C, D, E, but you are the person I'll be talking to and saluting in 3 to 5 years' time. HR has to ensure that it happens. HR also has to ensure that as you have already entered 21st century, you use new technology. One of the reasons I have gone into this entire strategy academy based on live digital technology. It's not downloadable stuff. Anything that happens, there is somebody behind always there. We do not deal with anything downloadable stuff or live or exclusive service. The reason I'm saying this